Okay, so I wanted to make a kind of quick video on what my big project is that I'm going to be doing. It's probably going to be lasting probably a minimum of 3 to 4 months, and I wanted to just show you what I'm going to be doing, and I will be doing videos along the way to show you the process and how it's turning out. So what I'm planning on doing is making a wool coat. It is, and of course, Kat decides to say hello. It is Viking inspired. Traditionally it would have been to the ankles, but I'm kind of thinking I'm going to make it at mid calf. But anyway, so I'm going to go from raw sheep's wool to the finished coat. So what that's going to entail is, of course, the cats haven't been down here all day, and now they decide, oh, I'm going to come say hi. So what that's going to entail is taking my wool, which I have already purchased, to going through it, which is called skirting, and then I do what I don't know if it's the right word, but I pick through it and make sure to get out any junk. I open up all the locks so that it gets good and clean when I wash it. So we're going to go from picking through the wool to washing the wool to spinning the wool, and then I want to try to keep it somewhat traditional. So I'm going to build a warp weighted loom, and then we will weave on the warp weighted loom, and as I'm warping it, weaving, etc., I'm going to go through more of the history, how the loom works, etc. And then after we're done weaving all of this wool, I'm going to felt it. Not a lot, but enough to where it's not airy. I don't know how else to put it, but I don't want it to be a thin wool. I want it to be nice and dense so that it'll keep me warm. And then after we felt the wool, we're going to dive into a pattern. I have a basic idea of what I want in the coat. I bought a book with Viking/Iron Age clothing and patterns. The woman that wrote this book also has patterns available to buy, which if I can't figure out how to do it from the book, that's probably what I'll do. And then, but we have to go, I'm gonna have to do it by measuring, etc. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to sew it on my sewing machine or if I'm going to hand sew it, which will take a lot of extra time, but possibly worth it in the long run. And then after we do all the sewing and etc., I want to put a really nice border along it. And it was quite often that's how the peoples of that era would decorate their clothing, was with tablet weaving or other items. So since I've been doing tablet weaving, that's what I want to do. I want to go along the neckline and then just down the front to the bottom hem. And I'm going to do, I think, not 100% sure, everything is subject to change depending on how things work. I want to do the Dublin Dragons motif, which is a historical pattern found in 10th century Dublin during Viking occupation. So then we'll do the tablet weaving, and then once the tablet weaving is sewn on, then there'll be the big reveal. Now, don't expect this to be next month that it's done, because it's so not, because I still work full time. So first I want to show you, this is the basic pattern of what I'm envisioning for the coat. So imagine that at about mid-calf, so along the neckline and down the front will be tablet weaving. and I'll explain it a little better as I go along. And then this, sorry, is a warp weighted loom. And the difference between it and the looms of today is that it is vertical that you weave instead of horizontal in front of you. A lot of the weaving that I've shown before has all been on a horizontal loom. Well, this one is completely vertical, and the tensioning is done by little weights at the bottom. That's why it's called a warp weighted loom. So in making the loom, I'll also have to make weights, which will probably entail going up to the art center and making some clay, basically like donuts, and using those as the weights. And then here is a real quick, this is the Dublin Dragon pattern that I'll be using. It's a little bit wider than the one I did previously, and I'm going to do it with black silk with the brocade as silver, because I think that'll look really nice. Okay, so I wrote myself a list here to try to keep myself on track. And the first thing I want to do, well, okay, before I forget, this is the book that I ordered, and she also has the patterns that you can buy, or you can figure out the patterns in the book. We'll see how that one goes. But I just wanted to make sure to give credit to her. And okay, so the wool. Now I haven't opened this yet. I waited until today. So this, you guys are seeing it for the first time with me. What I ordered was a whole Shetland fleece. Now typically Shetland are on the smaller side when it comes to sheep, but apparently this guy is pretty big. It's 5.5 pounds of wool. That's a lot, even for a traditional, what you always think of as a white sheep that you might see. But I ordered, what I ordered was black. And the reason I ordered Shetland is because it's kind of middle of the road. It's not super soft, but it's not where you're going to be like, eek, this itches. Because you want anywhere from a middle of the road to a coarser wool, because it's going to be more durable and it's going to last longer. If I was to make this out of, say, a merino or a targhee or a BFL sheep's fleece, it may not last as long, and it's going to pill, and it's going to end up, all my hard work will be for nothing. So, on to the fleece. So I got a black, and it is naturally black. It's not dyed. This is straight off the sheep. And I just want to show it to you really quick. Here's a piece of it. It is, well, let's see. Let's pull off a piece. So this is what about the length of a lock is going to be. So it's going to be, what is it, 4 to 5 inches. And so when I pick through a fleece, I'll pull it apart and look for any thing that I don't want in there. So what that means is I'm looking for sticks, hay, poop, because you know they're animals. They poop and they get poop on themselves. So what I'm doing is I'm just pulling it apart, and as I'm going, a lot of times any dirt or whatever will fall out as you're pulling it apart. And like right here is big, and yes, my cat absolutely loves dirty sheep fleece, so I have to try to keep it away from him. But what I pulled off is a piece of, I'm hoping, just mud. And then once I pick through it, I put it in my basket. So I keep picking until I'm done. And so this will take me a couple of days to get through. And if I know it's just dirt, a lot of times I'll just leave it, because I'll just pull it apart so it's not a dense piece of dirt, because I know it'll wash out when I wash it. Now when I wash it, there are a huge amount of things different that you can use to wash said fleece with. Some people use Dawn dish soap. Other people use, it's called Unicorn Power Scour. A lot of people use that because it works really well. It's also very pricey. Well, I have found that the really cheap dollar store, Dollar General, correct myself here, um, dish soap works awesome on cleaning a fleece. Now, part of the cleaning of the fleece is also you need to use higher temperature, hot water in order to get all of the lanolin out. I mean, you can leave a little bit in, but you don't want too much because then it's going to be hard to process. It's going to be hard to spin. A chunk of something there. And you don't want that. You don't want to make it any more difficult than necessary on yourself. Now, some people do enjoy spinning in what's called the grease. And that means they spin with it still dirty and all of the lanolin still in it. And then they wash it afterwards. A lot of people from way back would have left the grease in, which is the lanolin, in order to make their finished product more waterproof because the lanolin will resist moisture. So, okay, I'll pick off another chunk here as I keep talking. But this one is nice and soft. Really nice fleece. I got it from on Etsy from a woman in Eugene, Oregon. The name of her shop is Woolly Delight. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah. And I've gotten a few fleeces from her before, and I was pleased with what I received, so I decided to go back to her, and she had this beautiful black Shetland fleece, and I just couldn't pass it up. Because my options before I decided to do this 100% were I was leaning towards either gray or a brown or maybe black fleece. Well, black, like real black, not brown black, fleece is very hard to find. And it be natural unless it's like alpaca or something. Alpaca, they have black alpacas. But I found this and I was like, oh, perfect. So that's what I decided to get. And it's nice and soft, really good and soft. Considering, I mean, it is wool. It's not all wool is created equal. Some sheep produce a really nice soft wool, and other sheep of the same breed, even within the same family structure, will not produce as nice of a soft wool. It's all genetics and so on. So that is my project. If you have any questions, either now, along the way, whatever, comment on my video, or you can message me anything you want. Any critique is welcomed because I'm always wanting to do better, and doing videos is not my strong suit at all. But I also, at the same time, I want to share what I'm doing with you, and I want to bring some of the older crafts back to the forefront. I want to try to revitalize some of them. It's a lot of these things are becoming like a lost art. I mean, people don't do this as often. I mean, some of the older crafts that I do, like sewing, or whether it's by hand, especially by hand, or by machine, people they just don't do it anymore. And so that's like been my passion for, I don't know, several years now. And plus I just love learning new things. And this is my way of combining all of the skills I have acquired over the last several years and putting them all together into one finished product, which is super exciting for me because I haven't been able to do that before. I could spin and then make a hat, or I could spin and then weave something into, like, say a shawl or a wrap, whatever you want to call it, or a scarf. But this is like a garment, and I have never made anything beyond sewing wise. I've never made anything beyond pants, quilts, and when my girls were younger, I sewed them some really simple little summer dresses, and I had no clue what I was doing. So they're a little bit wonky, but you know what? They didn't care and they looked cute. Um, so that is my project. Any questions, comments, anything, let me know and have a wonderful day.